Alright, hey guys, so this is a quick how-to video. Do you have a like 98 to 2004-ish Forester or maybe an Impreza that you have either, the center dash clock in an Impreza or the overhead one, which is that bezel, for a Forester? Now my 99 Forester, it has this clock here with the bezel in it, and I have 3 of these, none of them work. So I'll show you how to fix that and make them work. And all you need is a solder gun with a fine tip, because there's some chips on the inside, well, not chips, I think they're like resistors or something, that the solder cracks on them and then it no longer has continuity contact through them. So you have to either reflow the solder or add just a little bit and then resolder to the board, and that should save you 50-60 bucks, because that's how much these bad boys are going for on eBay for some dumb reason. So let's get started. So here's 3 clocks that are not working. 2 of them are from Forester. One's from a 98, one's from a 99, but they're the same. One is from, I think it was a 2002 or 3 Subaru Impreza. They all have the same issue. Now if you see this little guy here, that came off of there. That is my horrible attempt to add solder to it. But what happens is the solder joints on these things crack, and then the little chip here just separates from the board, and then your clock won't work. This one right here, the 300 was okay. It was the 510 on this one that went bad. I did an absolutely horrible solder job because I have only the best Harbor Freight gun. This one as well, 300 there is fine, but that was also the 300. You can probably tell it's a little crooked again, but I reflowed the solder and added a little bit extra fresh solder, and that makes them so that way they're reattached to the board again. So I have one more to do. I'm gonna test all 3 of these and see if I got it or not. I read about this on a forum, but I haven't really seen too much on YouTube about how to make your clock work again in an older Forester, like 98 to what it would be, 2002, 3, 4, or something like that. Apparently it's a very common problem. These little trips desolder from the board and then they stop working. So I'm gonna solder this last one, and then I'll take them out to my Forester and see if all or one or none of them work. I almost forgot in the last clip just to show you how you take these apart. So let me make it a little wider for you so you can actually see what's going on here. So on the outside of them there is some clips that will separate the front screen from the back, and literally you can just take these apart, usually with just your finger. So there's one side, there's the other, and you kind of want to have it tilted like that because these buttons will fall out and you'll lose the pieces and they will be gone for eternity. So get that side. Okay, so I said there's the front. There is 3 buttons. They have like these little rubber toppers. Those like to separate and fall under your workbench, and you're looking for it for an hour or so, and then they magically appear right in front of you. Ask me how I know. As for the board here, like I said, these circuits, that one's kind of in the open, but these 2, they are, one side's kind of easy to get to, the other side is kind of underneath this display. That's what I was saying, like you want a solder gun that has more of a tip to it. Now I have just these El Cheapo ones, but it did the job. I ended up not using that big honker like I was saying, but so you can separate this from this plastic backing as well. If you see, there's some skinnier clips. Actually, I broke that one, but there's supposed to be 3 clips, so you can usually get these. There's one, like I said, that one broke, so 2, and then once you get the clips, just kind of wiggle it and it'll come out, so that way you don't bend the pins that go into the back. Once it's apart like that, now you have a little bit more room. You can get the solder gun in from the side versus trying to get in between these pins that stick up and, you know, melt the pin, or not the pin, the clip, sorry. You don't want to melt that clip because then it won't click back into its bezel and all that. So once that is apart like that, you can get kind of from the side there with the solder gun. What I did to hold the chips in place, I actually used a pair of pretty fine tweezers. So, you know, raid the excuse me, the drawer in your bathroom, don't tell your wife, but use that to hold the chip in place while you're trying to resolder it, because these are tiny little chips, and I had a heck of a time trying to line them up by hand because, you know, I have grubby fat fingers, so I couldn't get them in place just by hand. So that worked pretty good for me. All right, so, and then once you're done that, then you can just slide this back in. Like I said, just kind of line up the pins with their holes. Just get it nice and slow, and then don't press on the actual LCD itself. These tabs here, they're kind of like standoffs, but you don't want to bend those. I kind of bent the one, I bent it back up, but you know, it's easier to not do that. So it goes back in like that. You'll hear it kind of click in place. You'll get the pins going back through, no bends. Make sure, you know, like I said, you don't bend them. So now it's back in, clicked in place. Then take your cover. Now you'll notice, like, you see kind of a circle there and two there. Obviously, you can kind of line them up. Those two go on this side, so I kind of go from top down. Then you can click her back in place. And then, you know, buttons are still good to go. Oh, there we go, one more click. There we go. So that's how you take them apart. I kind of forgot to show that in the last clip, that, you know, I just had them apart, just in case anyone was wondering. All right, let's see. Let's see if we fixed any of these clocks. Okay, so let me plug in the first one. Look at that. That one works. Okay, there's 1 out of 3. Aw, crap. 2 out of 3. Look at that. And oh man, 3 out of 3. I fixed all 3. Wow. And if you look on eBay, they're going, like, the cheapest one of these that I've found is like $40, which is actually absolutely ridiculous. So now I'm gonna pick the clearest one, you know, one that doesn't have like as scratched up as a surround. And it looks like this one. So I will put this one in, and I will get the surround and put it back up. Let me get the camera up there. So, woo, let me zoom out. So I will get the surround, put it back up, button her up. All right, got it all buttoned up now. And now we got time. I even wired up the map lights because the connectors are actually different, so I had to modify the plug a little bit. I think this overhead console was actually out of like a 2000 Forester, which has different plugs. So just had to wire that up. So now I have the lights. Let me see, do they actually work with that? No, these are just map lights, okay. But now I have a clock. It's the little things, I guess. E4, the time is 4:47. I guess I have to click it. There we go. So that's how you fix a clock on, well, mine's a 99, but I think it's like 98 to 2002 or 2004 Forester. Imprezas also have the same clock, so it's like the same procedure. I'm not sure about Legacies, but I know Imprezas have the same exact clock with the 4-pin plug. I don't know if you can see it or not. The 4-pin plug on the back. It even says what it is, but they're all the same, and it's that 300 and 510 little chip in there. The solder just cracks over time. all the chips on these were slightly lifted on the, like at least one side. The one had the chip was out of it and just rattling around inside. So, and I actually ended up using a fine tip solder gun, not that big honker that I had. It couldn't get in there accurate enough. So there's a little tip for you if you're trying to fix one of these. It is doable, and you'll save yourself like 40 to 60 bucks on this little clock. So yeah, hope that helps someone. Go ahead.